Okay, hi, I'm Stephen Gomez and I'm the project director of this. I suppose Richard supplied the vision and put together the bid for funding, mainly around the CPD framework, which the university is developing at the moment. And the idea of sort of being funded to produce some of the OERs came at a really opportune time because it would support the framework. So that's me.
I'm Helen Beetham, I'm external evaluator on the project, and I work on quite a lot of OER projects for the GISC, but it was really exciting to me to get an opportunity to be more closely involved with this one particularly, because I think it's doing some really interesting and different things.
I'm sure you say that to all the projects, but...
No, not at all. In this case, well, in this case it's true, Stephen. So I know you've been really excited about this area for a while, but can you say something specifically about the materials that you're involved in developing and why you wanted to develop those for the project?
Yeah, really excited about 3 of the modules that we're going to run with very, very soon. They're all the professional development types of modules. And it's going to be understanding professional development and advanced professional development as well. I'm very excited about those because they're going to run very shortly. And sort of like just thinking ahead to a time when people out there are going to be using these. And I very much like the idea of people out there using material of mine or of colleagues without actually being sat in front of us. I think that's really empowering, and it's almost a legacy of teachers who don't have to be in the same room. You know, they can use the materials as they wish.
So that's something that's really exciting about OER, but was there anything distinctive about the material, particularly for these modules, that you felt it would make a good OER or it was right for this approach?
Yes, very much the work-based learning materials that would lead the learner eventually to produce a portfolio.
Right.
And I've worked with learners before, helping them produce portfolios, but it's been full-time students, it's been students on placement, it's been students I've been seeing quite a lot of, so I can guide them. And the challenge here is to write something generic that would apply to almost any situation, but for the learner to realise that this material is just for them.
That does sound a challenge. I mean, that's quite a contradiction.
Mm.
It's got to work in any context, but it's got to feel right for me.
And that's why I try to make it conversational,
okay.
Because then that you get the people engaged. They feel that you're talking with them or to them, and then they feel hopefully they'll buy into the fact that the rest of the material, which is generic, is for them.
Do you think you've managed to achieve that kind of conversational approach?
I haven't finished the material at the moment. I'm working on it. So any feedback you could give would definitely go into the development of the work. I have been involved in this sort of approach before, with full-time students, where I have made it conversational. And my own subject specialism, people find very difficult to get to grips with. And in my particular approach, where it's layered. Initially I don't expect an awful lot of the learners, but I sort of like lead them, or almost like a ladder, rung at a time, and it gets just slightly more difficult each time. So I've got a bit of a track record for that, but not for learners that I don't know anything about and are out there. And I think the proof really comes when you start using them.
Absolutely.
And then get the feedback, and I see this very much as an iterative process, and it's not going to be right the first time around. But each time, I don't think it's ever going to be right, but hopefully each time it's going to be better and sort of based on experiences from before.
Well, it's great with this project, isn't it, that we've got so much expertise in delivering this kind of material, and we're all feeling our way with the openness of it. And when we get to that point of actually delivering to learners, we'll all be on a very steep learning curve about what's going to work best. Okay. So is there anything else you want to share about what you've learned really in the process of doing that?
Yes. In trying to write some of the material, I've become aware of material that other people have produced, and sometimes I think, should I try to repurpose that or link to it? And I think it's going to be a mixture of both. I think there's no use reinventing the wheel each time. I think it's very important to use material that's out there, especially in the first iteration of this. And then get some feedback from the learners as to the value of that sort of material, and then change it accordingly. So yes, I would say there's a host of material out there already. Just has supported the production of quite a lot of material. I'm really grateful for that. And there's a lot of people out there who, through their own generosity, have made their materials available. And I think it's a great testament to them to link some of the material to all those people.
So you would say one of the first lessons in writing good OER would be to become a good user of OER and repurpose them?
I think it's similar if you were a researcher, and a researcher doesn't just start a project, but they look at the landscape as it is at the moment. They see what work is already out there, what approaches other people have taken, and then you can decide, are you going to reproduce some of that work in order to confirm whether that work is any good, or whether you're going to take it somewhere else. So it's all the time it is standing on the shoulders of others and sort of like, just getting them, a bit of a further look. So I think, that production of OERs is similar to anything we do, producing in education, producing research papers, producing our teaching materials.
Scholarship, isn't it?
It's very much scholarship.
Okay.
And I like the idea of it being a learning experience for us. The divide between student and tutor, where the tutor supposedly knows everything. I think it's wonderful to be in a position where you don't know everything, and you're learning, you're struggling still, because that will feed into the material.
Helen Beetham, I'm external evaluator on the project, and I work on quite a lot of OER projects for the GISC, but it was really exciting to me to have an opportunity to be more closely involved with this one particularly, because I think it's doing some really interesting and different things.
I'm sure you say that to all the projects, but...
No, not at all. In this case, it's true, Stephen. So I know you've been really excited about this area for a while, but can you say something specifically about the materials that you're involved in developing and why you wanted to develop those for the project? So that's something that's really exciting about OER, but was there anything distinctive about the material, particularly for these modules, that you felt it would make a good OER or it was right for this approach? That does sound a challenge. I mean, that's quite a contradiction. It's got to work in any context, but it's got to feel right for me. Do you think you've managed to achieve that kind of conversational approach? Well, it's great with this project, isn't it, that we've got so much expertise in delivering this kind of material, and we're all feeling our way with the openness of it. And when we get to that point of actually delivering to learners, we'll all be on a very steep learning curve about what's going to work best. Okay. So is there anything else you want to share about what you've learned really in the process of doing that? Would be to become a good user of OER and repurpose it. That I felt were really transformational taking place in UK higher education at the moment. From my perspective, that I look after quite a lot of projects and have done in my time. And one of the projects I chose to talk about in these 10 Tales of Transformation was Learning from Work at Plymouth. And I think for me why I chose it was that I feel work-based learning, as we know, really shifts the balance between educators and students very, very profoundly. It changes the relationship between universities and workplaces and the people employed in them. And I think OER shifts that balance still further. So it's a further democratisation, if you like, of opportunity to take part in higher education. And I particularly liked what Learning from Work was doing around that democratisation process, which, as you said, Stephen, is learning a lot of scholarship around how best to educate in those different contexts, how best to teach reflective practice, and how to take kind of process-based learning out of the face-to-face context and into remote contexts and support that with really detailed, carefully thought-through materials, and how to support people in those contexts who might be mediating the experience of learners. So it's a very complex picture. There are learners.
Work-based learners ourselves.
We're work-based learners. We're working with people in situations we might not know. The situation is part of their learning. The mediation is part of their learning, and the content is, which may be process-based, is part of their learning. And I think that complicated picture is one that universities need to be grappling with if they want to survive in the current landscape of funding. So I chose Learning from Work as a project I really wanted to talk about. There's about 120 people in the audience who will be looking to Learning from Work now as a beacon of transformation, and I was very proud to be associated with it.
Expecting an increase in our hit rates on our website.